You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by the GoingNorthPodcast.com shop. It is going to help you have northbound direction to your own success. If you want a great inspirational quote like advance others to advance yourself, or today a reader, tomorrow a leader, heck, even some puns like pile on and always fully booked on your tote bag, mug, hoodie, heck, even a t-shirt, and many, many other items, head over to GoingNorthPodcast.com, click on the shop tab, and cop yourself some merchandise indeed. And that's GoingNorthPodcast.com/shop. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of one of my favorite sites on the internets, or some would call jokingly Al Gore's internet, the wonderful podmatch.com, the wonderful site where podcast guests get to connect with podcast hosts, and if they're cool, they're freaking in. And today's guest is cooler than 10 cucumbers. And you're like, man, she's cooler than 10 cucumbers. I thought it was just cooler than 2. Well, yeah, she gets extra 8 cucumbers because she's a fellow Baltimorean, y'all. That's right. Indeed, because today's award-winning author, baby, she's an award-winning journalist, playwright, as well as a certified nonfiction book coach. And that's like, I guess, the first actual certified nonfiction books coach on this podcast. So let's give it up for Miss A.B. herself, the amazing and bold Amy Bernstein. How you doing today, Amy?
Well, Dom, thank you for that really extraordinary introduction. I'm not sure it's earned, although since you called me cool, I'm going to take it, and that's going to be basically the highlight of my day, and it's great to be here with you.
Woohoo! That's right, indeed. As we all know, you can't have highlights without weed. Haha. That's how the lights get high. You're probably thinking, wow, that ain't no highlight. That was a low light.
Hey, you know what? You know what? It's your world today, and I'm just living in it. So
Oh, good. That's right. Hey, the good news is you might meet that turban wearing penguin soon. You never know. Sometimes they ride on camels. That's right, indeed. The best of both worlds. But hey, it ain't about penguins riding on camels. It's about the amazing Amy. So, my goodness, as with all introductions, there's probably stuff I forgot because you can't cover 75 years of content. You're not even 75 yet. So, am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you since it's your first time on the show and there maybe folks don't know about you yet?
sure, a little bit. No, I'm not. I'm not 75. I aspire to be 75 one day for sure. And I should also say that what a treat it is to be on with a fellow Baltimorean, since so many podcasts I do are with folks far flung in other places and they don't know what a special city this is that we live in. But you really kind of got it in the intro. I write fiction, but I also have a long background in nonfiction. I love helping other writers on their journey. I teach a lot of writing courses, and writing is kind of what I've always done professionally. And now I'm trying to put it all between the covers in novels. So I've got 4 novels out, each one different from the other, and that's a really, really quick nutshell.
Quick nutshell. All right. So, cashews or almonds?
I like them both, and it depends on my mood, as long as they're salted.
There we go. That's right, indeed. Let's hope football season is good this year so we don't get extra salty. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And the beautiful thing is that with all of your wonderful writing experience, like more writing in multiple genres, like my goodness, I guess that means you have this highly creative mind. So I guess at the age of 13, you figured, hey, I want to be a writer when I grow up and get bunny ears, I'm guessing.
I don't think anybody figures anything out at the age of 13. But I guess I always was writing and gravitating to writing, and of course I was an English major in school because people who like to write major in English very often and get to do a lot of writing. But I didn't call myself a writer, even though I wrote professionally for decades as a journalist, as a speechwriter, doing communications work. I really didn't call myself a writer until I don't know, like within the last I don't know 5, 6, 7 years. It just took me a lifetime to get up the courage to figure that I could use that word to describe myself.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that works sometimes. Like, hey, I like doing this thing and I could do it well, at least what other people say. And it's like, oh, no, I don't want to call myself that thing because it sounds scary. I might be an imposter.
All that stuff.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, what up? You finally get the confidence to be like, hey, I'm a writer, dang gummit.
Yeah, I decided to just basically own it, and now I'm comfortable with it. A while though, like a lifetime.
Ah, there we go. So, I guess time was the cure for imposter syndrome in this case.
Right, time and, basically sort of seeing the fruits of your labors, being undeniably out there and saying, "Yeah, no, this is a real thing, and, it's okay. I can sort of get over the insecurity of it and be done with that." To some extent, not entirely.
I get you. I get you. Day by day, things could change. It's like, oh yeah, got the confidence of a guy with 8-pack abs. Yeah, steel. Next day, and it's like, oh shoot, I guess I'm a mouse today. Like, where's the cheese? I think I'll let the cheese come to me.
You sort of have that Robin Williams, riffing thing going, don't you? It just comes naturally to you, I can see.
That's right, indeed. Some say I got a cornucopia of corny puns. You love to see it. In this case, here.
Mhm.
So, what led you to become a nonfiction book coach, especially a certified one? I never even heard of the certified bit for at least the nonfiction book coaches.
Yeah, it's a real thing. There's a program out there called Author Accelerator, which is really just an extraordinarily interesting and challenging program for folks who really want to help authors on their own writing journey get a lot of tools and a lot of experience working with authors in either fiction, memoir, or nonfiction. So it's a very rigorous certification program, and you come out the other side with a really good understanding of how to work with writers, not as an editor, but as a coach. And a coach does different things because a coach is also an accountability partner as well as a champion, as well as providing structured guidance and tools to help authors kind of write their best work and figure out their why and what they want to say. And it's a wonderful journey to take with another writer, as I do with some of my clients now. And the reason that I'm writing fiction, but I'm coaching nonfiction because for decades. I mean, in my career, I was a journalist in print and public radio. I was an executive speechwriter in Washington. I did a lot of pretty complicated communications work in government and nonprofits. So I've kind of touched a lot of parts of the nonfiction writing world, and I really love it. I love working with complicated material and helping people figure out how to say stuff clearly and to write for a commercial audience. So it's kind of like a big translation exercise, and I really enjoy that challenge with authors.
A big translation exercise. You love to see it.
Yeah.
That's right, indeed. Taking their marble and making sure they discover their Michelangelo statue. You love to see it. That's right,
That's it. You
indeed.
nailed it. That's right. That's right. You got to right. You got that hunk of marble, and you don't know what it is. You got to chip away at it. You got to figure out where to make those cuts, right? Until the thing emerges, and that's something a book coach can really help an author discover.
Heck yeah, indeed. And coach is definitely important because a lot of folks who want to be at their elite performance level and stay there usually has a coach indeed. So my goodness, so when it comes to you coaching your wonderful clients, has there been a commonality between them for aspiring writers out there to look out for? Be like, oh, so this is what she helps out authors with. And it's like, oh, maybe I have this thing too. Maybe she can help me out with it.
Right. Well, I'll be clear and say that generally don't work with people writing memoir, which many, 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 many people want to do or trying to do, and that's not really my bag. Um, I tend to work with writers who they've got just a kernel of an idea and they really, really don't know how to turn that into the spine of a book. So in nonfiction, if you're gonna go out into the commercial nonfiction world as opposed to self-publishing, you're gonna need something called a nonfiction book proposal, and that proposal has to be really, really like it's a super clear kind of a sales document, and there's a really specific way to make that thing sing so that it'll catch somebody's attention. So I love working with authors who kind of want to get to that point where they've got a really clear vision for their book and they're ready to kind of pitch it out in the marketplace. And there's a lot of steps involved, and it really helps to have a coach help you work through all those steps. And as for the kind of folks that I want to work with, really, I love working with folks who are experts in their fields, whatever that field may be. They wanna, they wanna share a better mousetrap with the world. They wanna go against conventional wisdom and tell everybody we've been doing something wrong all this time. They wanna, float something totally new. Really, whatever it is, I'm really down for working with people who are just serious about trying to get their message and their information out there.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about indeed. Because yeah, I'm so right about that, especially with those proposals for those looking to get their books published with one of those publishing houses. Because folks ain't got time for it. It's kind of like those job interviews, those resumes. Like it's got to have something that'll pop out to them, especially now that attention spans are worse than goldfish for us humans now, sadly.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing I'll say, Dom, too, about the whole being coached to write a book is what a lot of authors, especially first-time authors, they just people don't realize how much work it really takes to do this. And so, if you're starting with an idea, you have to be really, really serious about giving this your time and thought and attention, sort of to get it done, because it's not simple or easy. And a lot of people think that, oh, well, I can write a book. Well, uh, not so sure. It's hard work. It really is. It's great to have someone guide you through the thicket, as it were.
Yeah, so right about that. Yeah, some of the stuff could be simple, but it's actually not that easy at all.
No.
So indeed, sometimes the first book can be easier than the second book for some people.
Well, you don't know what you don't know until you've written one, and then you realize what you got to do better.
It's like, yay, I was able to get through all the landmines, and I realized, oh no, that was just a backyard. Here's the real desert you have to go through and real landmines.
Yeah, it is like that.
That's right, indeed. And the landmines aren't jack in the boxes either, so have to really watch out. Oh man, oh man. So my goodness, so writing wonderful fiction novels and coaching folks with the nonfiction magical books indeed. So my goodness, and you got a couple books out there, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, what was it? Three magical books you released last year, right? Or was it four?
Yeah, I got four out there, but yeah, three sort of came in a bit of a rush, I guess you could say. Yeah, which is why I don't have anything coming out anytime soon. That was sort of like a big push. Yeah, I just like I don't pick a lane. My motto as a writer is that I let readers feel while making them think, and that's what's true about all my books. But like one of my books is a mystery thriller, how to set in the near future. One of them is a fantasy about a coming of age story about a half human, half mermaid, and one is a romance that involves a lot of ancient archaeological artifacts floating around the world. And so I'm kind of all over the map, and which is kind of how I like it.
There you go, indeed. So were you writing all three projects simultaneously, or were they just
Oh
worked
gosh,
on
no.
for years, or it just
No,
all
no,
came
no.
in at
They
once?
they different rates, different processes. Not no, I can only work on one novel at a time. I mean, I'm often writing other things like essays or poetry or working on courses that I'm teaching, but no, if I'm in a big fiction project, that's going to get all my mental energy and anguish.
Ah, I hear you indeed. So, what's the process like for your novel writing indeed, especially when you switch genres as much as you do?
Well, I always it starts with the story. What's the story that I really want to tell? And I see if that's going to live inside me for a while so that I know that I want to write it. And then I kind of figure out the form that I think I need to tell that story in. And so, my mystery thriller kind of came out of the pandemic, and I was speculating on, if had been an even worse pandemic, what might the world be like? How might our rules have changed? How might society be managing kind of its recovery from devastation? And so I was playing with all these things and going to some pretty dark places. So that was a story I really wanted to tell. But it really just depends on the story and where that leads. And then as for process, for me, it changes a lot depending on where I am in the book. Like if I'm just starting, it's just hard and I can get like frustrated and have to really think about things and take lots of notes and just spend a lot of time thinking and not writing. And then when you get really deep in a book, you're sort of writing furiously. And so it really just depends because I finished one earlier this year and I had some really, really, really intense writing bouts and that was fun. Once you're really into it, it's fun.
Hooray! That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So, how does your journalism background play a role in making your novels better?
What a great question, Dom, because it does. I love to do research. And so I actually do research for every book. I mean, you would think that if I'm writing a book about, you know, a young woman being hunted who has ancient mermaid DNA mixed in with her human DNA, you think, well, you can't research that, like you just make it all up, right? No, no, no. I read extensively about sort of mermaid folklore and mythology in cultures throughout the world, which is it's amazingly prevalent. Like almost every culture in almost every country in the world, especially those that are near water, has like some version of like a mermaid myth. Um, so I did all that kinds of research and things of that nature. And I study maps if I'm putting people in a real place, want to make sure that the place feels really authentic and that kind of thing. And my romance with all the archaeology in it, I had such a blast reading all these archaeology journals and studying up on archaeology digging methods and tools. And I've got all that in the book. And I love that. I love sort of marrying that all together. I think research is a great help for fiction because it just gives it a lot of texture. And I'm actually going to be teaching a couple classes about that later this year.
I guess hashtag Professor Amy. Hello. There we go. That's right, indeed. So she's a book coach, and we now have to leave apples on a virtual desk. This is beautiful. There we go.
I'll take review stars. That will do for the apples. That's good.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's beautiful that you mentioned the research part of it too, because it's kind of funny outside looking in. For the average folks would be like, "Oh yeah, fiction. Yeah, you just have to write stuff and make stuff up, right?" It's like, yeah, but at the same time, it's like you gotta research too, because there's a touch of reality in it. When, especially when we talk about certain subjects. I can remember another past guest talked about how they had to research horses and had to realize, oh, they're not like in the movies. They can't run forever. They can only run for a certain amount of time. And if you don't mention stuff like that, folks get pissed when they read it.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's when you writers create a bond of trust with the reader, and even in the craziest horror novel or the craziest far out sci-fi novel, the writer is building a world and building trust with the reader that, okay, this world has rules and you're going to understand those rules, even if they're not related to the real world that we're actually in. There are rules and we're going to follow those rules. And when you violate them, the reader doesn't trust you. So if it's going to be realistic, then it's really got to be truly real, right? And if it's going to be like everything's taking place on some other planet, well, we have to understand, well, does that planet have gravity? Does it have breathable air? Like, what are the rules of the planet? And then you got to stay true to them, or you're going to upset your reader.
That's right, indeed. Definitely don't want to upset the reader, indeed. Especially if they ordered a blender the same day and then they confused the reviews and they're really mad. Like, 1 star. This darn book doesn't slice up the fruit. My smoothie was ruined. Wait a
Right.
second. This
Talk
is
about
Mr.
confused
Novel.
reader. Well, a big, I mean, uh, a big reason that people, there's this famous thing called DNF, did not finish. And so when people are either writing reviews or they're posting online and stuff about a book, like, oh, this was DNF. Did not finish. A lot of the time, well, first of all, they just might be bored. That's something. Like, don't bore your reader. Like, rule number one, don't bore the reader. But one reason a lot of people use the book's DNF is like the writer didn't do the world building right. Like the rules in the world are just like they fell apart or they're not believable, and the reader doesn't trust you anymore. And like you're just gonna like throw that book across the room and start something else that you can believe in.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And that's a new one to me. Did not finish. Like, dude, I could.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah.
Oh god, especially nowadays when there's so many books out there. It's like, oh, that's going in the
Exactly.
lexicon now.
Exactly. I mean, writers can choose from among hundreds of thousands of books. And so, you don't want to write a DNF.
Yeah, exactly, indeed. And you mentioned world building too. So, any tips for folks who need to get that part right so they don't have folks fall in trapdoors?
Yeah, couple things. First of all, world building applies to every single novel, even one that's hyper realistic in contemporary times. A lot of people think world building is only if you're doing some kind of way out there sci-fi or fantasy or something like that. That's not true because the reader really does need to have a sense of sort of scene, SCENE, scene and place and time. So we really need that writer to manipulate objects and observations and all the senses, sight, sound, smell, touch, to put us in a place and time that the reader can feel like they're really there. And so that's one aspect of world building, like what's the physical world that we're in. And another aspect of world building is really what's the relationship among the characters and how does that grow and change over time, and what are you leading the reader to expect is going to happen. What seeds are you planting in the reader's mind with some foreshadowing or whatever it might be, or flashbacks that are cluing us in on something. It's really kind of all world building where you're creating a fictional universe that nonetheless feels real on its own terms. And it's really hard to do. And you have to really think about it. You can't just have people like talking at each other on a page and think that you've done the job.
That's true indeed. That's true indeed. That's right indeed. Don't want to be a metaphorical bricklayer with your world building and realize, oh, the wall is not finished. It's only half finished. It's only 1 foot tall.
Right. Right. Right.
Senior citizens like, heck, I could probably jump over that with a walker. Like, you're doing it wrong.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness, since you've been on a few interviews promoting the good work that you're doing, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often?
Yeah. Why isn't your book on the bestseller list? Well, great question. Most of the books out there are not on bestseller lists. It's just that the bestseller lists tend to get our attention. No, not really dumb. I mean, not like in a super serious way. I really, really, really enjoy engaging with other writers and with readers and just having open conversations about the things we write and why we write and what kinds of books we want to see in the world, and how people we need to put trust in the human imagination, to kind of carry us forward.
I hear you indeed. I hear you indeed. They sometimes can be like that. It's like, yep, it's right indeed. Just going with the flow, being full water. That's right indeed. One day you're a jug, next day you're a cup, and then one day you're a giant dragon.
I I think you have a philosophy book in you.
A punosophy.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, my goodness, fun question for you. And I guess we'll go with the Nighthawker since it's an archaeologist and they like to dig up stuff. So, my goodness, if that wonderful book were a food, what would it be and why?
What would the Nighthawkers be? Oh,
Yeah.
it would be like a 7-layer cake or like a Smith Island cake with tremendous numbers of really thin layers, because in archaeology, archaeologists are forever looking what's called stratigraphy, which is the layers of sediment that are deposited over thousands and millions of years, and what you can learn about where artifacts are buried and how old they are and what was going on in the culture at the time based on these layers. So yes, a really, really tall multi-layer cake.
Ah, no hesitation. That's all right. Somebody did their preparation.
No, that was real spontaneous, actually.
Yeah. Told you were cooler than 10 cucumbers. That's right, indeed. I'd be cooler than one cucumber. Be cooler than many. Go for the coolness multiplier. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. The more cucumbers, the higher the coolness scale. That's right, indeed. The other side of the pillow will have to bow down. So, my goodness, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you'd all wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
Don't read the news. Put love and kindness out into the world and follow your passion.
Woo! That's right, indeed. It's kind of funny, though, because that's coming from an award winning journalist.
Yeah, well,
Don't read the news.
don't read the news. Well, and I didn't say that because I want people to be ignorant, because I don't want people to be ignorant. It's because there's so much that's toxic right now in culture and politics and stuff, and it can really take up too much of the old brain pan, you know?
I wholeheartedly agree because there's a difference between protecting your mental health and your mind state as opposed to just looking at all the garbage that they got out there,
Yeah,
as some
yeah,
would call propaganda rags.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, hey, doom and gloom. You ready to be scared, buddy? No. Well, too bad. Stay in the
Right,
house. Oh, wait, don't stay in the house.
right, right. And don't go into the basement.
Yeah, exactly. Don't even go to the basement either. I don't have a basement. Well, congrats, you're already in the basement. That's right, indeed. Just wait until we call that basement rock bottom. Then you'll really be in for it. Oh, man. But before we go even deeper to that rabbit hole, folks need to follow Amy's rabbit holes. That way they can stay in her world and all the stuff that she's doing and keeping up with it. So for those who need to do just that and more, what's the best way for folks to do so, Amy?
They go to my website, amywrites.live. It's just AMYWRITES dot live. It is not a .com. So amywrites.live just brings you to all the good stuff and probably more than you want to know. All the books are there, the courses and my blog, all the good stuff.
She's alive. That's right. She's
Yeah,
alive.
right.
She's far from dead. She's alive. That's right, indeed. Amy writes, baby. That's right, indeed. She writes forever. That's right, indeed. Pun intended, not intended. Either way, it came out as a pun. But yes, indeed. Gonna put a link to Amy's stuff in the show notes. That way you can stay in contact with her, keep up with the journey, cop some copies of her marvelous books. So that way they can spread the good word of, hey, that's right, indeed. She's alive, she's writing. That's right, indeed. That way you can get that inspiration to write yourself. Heck, maybe if anyone's listening might be inspired to hire her as a book coach to take her across the goal line and get that touchdown and join the business of immortality known as authorship. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. She's got her Moses stick ready. That's right, indeed. She's ready to part the Red Sea for you. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Before the Egyptians come and try to ruin our Red Sea journey, any parting word before we close up shop, baby?
Well, it has been a pleasure enduring your puns and your riffs. No, truly, it's been wonderful to have this conversation with you. I really appreciate it. I thought you asked some really great questions. And listen, let's hear it for Charm City, right?
Woo-hoo-hoo. If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.